Hello and welcome to the third instalment of the Inky Ivy colour along of the Door to Enchantia from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. So thank you so much first of all for all of your comments and compliments and support that you've given me on the previous two videos, because as I mentioned I was really nervous doing the colour along, and those nerves have dissipated considerably since I've had such good feedback from you all, so thank you so much for that. So today we're going to be concentrating on the background. Now you may remember that I had a bit of a quandary about what colour to do the background, whether to just black it out or make it a gradient or a solid colour, and what I've decided to do, because so many of you wanted it to be pink because Ivy's house is pink in the story, is that I've decided to choose a range of different pinks, right from the darkest, which is black raspberry, up to this lovely blush pink, which is super light, and we're going to do a gradient from dark to light going inwards. So that's what I think will look best. I absolutely love pink and green as a colour combo anyway. I think they really set each other off well, and we are going to have an awful lot of green on this page, so I do think it's going to look lovely when it's done. So as you can see, there's not actually that much background to be done because there's just so many leaves on this border and the border is quite thick. So there's not really much room for this, which is great because it conserves our pencils and it's not going to take us as long. So what I'm going to attempt to do with the background is, because we have 5 colours on this blend, because I really wanted it to go from quite dark to quite light, what we're going to do is we're going to sort of imagine from the spine here that we have 5 different lines down towards this archway, and that is how much colour we're going to put of each, if that makes sense. So we're going to start off dark here, and then maybe around here we'll go to our next colour and our next colour and our next colour. You'll see as we go along. So also we have these lanterns to play with. Now they do break up our pattern from dark to light, and they also have to be considered because we're trying to make this look pretty realistic. So we're going to need a glow coming from these lanterns, and as I say, we've not got much room in the background to work with anyway, and then we have to factor in this glow. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. This is an experiment for me. I've not done this page previously or anything like that, or even practiced, so let's just see how we go. We're going to do the lanterns first because I don't want to do too much of the darker colour and then not have room for that glow. So what I've done is I've chosen these colours, which is black raspberry, mulberry, processed red, hot pink and blush pink for the background, and you can see the gradient there of how it's going to look. So it's almost black at the edge. I wanted it to be really dark to really light. And then for the lanterns, we've got our trusty 3 colour blend. We've got canary yellow, deco yellow and cream. So we're going to start with that to make sure we've got that glow there, and you know, nothing's going to hinder it in any way. So I'm going to zoom in and move the book so we can all see what we're doing. Just zoom out slightly. Okay, and we're going to concentrate on this lantern first. So get your lantern colours, canary yellow, deco yellow and cream. And we're not going to bother about the inside of the lantern just yet. We can do that later. We're just worried about the glow that's around it. So make sure we've got enough zoom on there. I'm going to keep making sure that I'm on screen this time. And also what you've been brilliant enough to do is to give me some questions that I can give you the answers to, and a few more topics of chat, because you know I get really nervous about keeping chat going and what to say and stuff like that. So I'll be answering all of those questions that you left on the comments, and please do leave me some more questions in this video comments for me to answer next time as well. So here we go. We're going to start off with our darkest yellow, which is our canary, and it's going to be darkest and brightest the closer to the lantern that we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to give this lantern a bit of a border. So just colouring right adjacent to the outside edge of the lantern. We're not going to make the glow too wide because obviously we need the space for the background colours as well. and up to about, hang on, that's not on screen. So from the bottom of this archway here is the floor, obviously it's the ground. So we don't even have, you know, it's not like a floating object that we can do background all the way round. We only have the background just in this small space, so not too much glow. So we've got a thin little band there of this canary yellow. And I'm just wondering whether to continue the glow all the way around the top, because these here look like windows or openings of the lantern. So maybe we should extend our band of colour to go all the way to the top of the lantern. Now Prismacolors have lots of very light oranges to play with, so that's probably the colour that we'll be using for the inside of the lantern. So not to worry about using this very bright yellow as a glow, because we will make it look, you know, nice and fiery inside as well, hopefully. So I don't think I'm going to do the bottom because there's no glass really that I can see there, and also we're going to save room for the background. So once you've done the canary yellow band, we move on to our next darkest colour, or lightest colour rather, which is the Deco Yellow, and we just go straight alongside the band that we've already done. And these colours merge really well together anyway, so there's not any particular, you know, skillful blending needed here. And as you know, everything I do is super simple anyway, so anyone can do this, but it's a really sweet effect. It might not be as, you know, realistic or amazing as other people can do with, you know, glowing and stuff, but it gives the sense that it's glowing. So now the Deco Yellow really nicely blends into the cream colour, and cream is going to be really easy to blend with our lightest pink, which is the blush pink. So that is what we're aiming to do here, is to create a bit of a band between the background and the lantern, so merging the pink and the yellow as best we can. So using our cream, we extend the band even more. And I also just wanted to say thank you so much to those of you who've been on the Facebook page and shown me your pictures so far as you've been colouring along with me. I absolutely love them. They all look amazing. You're all very much on the right track, and I'm just so happy that people are actually doing this with me. I wasn't sure whether I would have much of an audience for the colour alongs, obviously with my nerves and things like that, and not being one of these amazing artists that can colour incredibly well. So thank you so much for that. It really is a boost to the confidence. So when you've done a sort of hazy bit around the lanterns, you can leave that be now. So if you're unhappy with how much bright yellow is on there and you need to just buff it out a little bit with the lighter ones, you can do that, or you can go in and add some darker yellow on the other side if you need to, just so we have that sort of blend out. So while we're here, we might as well do the other lantern, because that didn't take long at all. So moving across here, again, we have our darkest yellow, canary, right the way round to the top here. So with these colours being quite similar, and yellows are really easy to blend anyway because they're so light, you don't have to sort of leave that feathery halo edge that I left on, you know, the leaves and the stones that to blend into the next colour. You don't really need to do that because they'll just automatically blend anyway. So then our Deco Yellow. If you get any on the leaves or overlap anything or go out of the lines, don't worry about it, I don't. Some people's colouring, you can literally zoom in on it and there will be no, you know, out of the lines or anything, it would be absolutely flawless, and mine, no. It looks pretty good from a distance, and then usually when you look at my colourings close up, there's quite a lot of mistakes, but I'm not bothered. I just go for the look, the effectiveness of the look, rather than it being completely perfect. So moved on to the cream now, and just buffing out that Deco Yellow into almost white. And there we are, super quick, glowy look around the lantern. Now, this doesn't look like much at the moment, but once we've got that dark background on there to contrast with it, the glow will automatically look better. So let's start with our background. So I'll move this up again and we'll get our background colours out. So first of all, we're going with the Black Raspberry. That's the darkest of the shades. And we're going to just manipulate this spine a little bit so we can get right in there. And starting from as close to the spine as you can get, you'll need a very sharp pencil for this, because in some areas the spine is quite tight. So in any of the areas that you can see that aren't leaves, sort of like in between the leaves, get your Black Raspberry colour, and it's going on to the other page already, but I'm not bothered, and colour the in-betweens. Now don't go too far with your Black Raspberry, because we haven't yet worked out the ratio of getting it from this dark to the lightest at this edge. So just sort of do the awkward inner bits first, and we can always extend that. See, I've just coloured that bit there, and I've noticed that there is actually a leaf, so that would actually be part of the leaf, but with it being the bottom of the leaf, we may be able to erase that and put some dark green there to cover it. You have to be so careful on this page because the leaves are absolutely everywhere. Let's just get rid of the top layer of that colour, and we can darken that out with green later. So really take a good close look at what you're colouring, because it may actually be a leaf. So we can do this bit here. And I would be happy to go out to around about there with this colour before we start bringing the next shade in. I think that'll be pretty good. What I'm worried about is getting close to this glow with this dark colour. So I think we should maybe, at least when we're around this lantern, be a little bit narrower with our colours, if that makes sense. Maybe I'll just take a little bit out, just to blend the next colour into. So let's go for around about there. Now, as we move up and away from the lantern up here, you can bring it out a little bit more, but we'll feel it as we go. We can always add more of the dark colours anyway. So again, just looking for those little spaces, those little slots between the leaves. Doing a camera check, make sure I'm still on screen. I always work from dark to light, always have done. I don't know why. A lot of people work from light to dark, the majority I think, because you can start with your lights and make sure that the darks don't overtake too much of the space. For instance, if you colour in a leaf and you go in with the dark colour, sometimes you can go a bit too far and then you haven't got space for your lightest. So some people like to start with the lightest and get those tones down first, but for some reason I find it easier to blend from dark to light. So just conscious really of not bringing it too far in. Made a few mistakes already, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to treat everything from this bottom of this mushroom here and these stones as the ground. So anything above that we'll do our background on. So let's just bring in a little bit of this black raspberry over here. I'm sorry if I've made you have to erase anything already. As I say, I've not practiced this whatsoever, and I'm just sort of doing it with you. So I think that that is all of the border on that side that can be done. Let's look at this side now. Let's get to the top of the page, and if we look over here we can see that there's a branch of small leaves here in this area, so the in-betweens of those can be coloured. And I think we can colour most of this with this darkest colour. We'll make it work anyway. So some people might have been a bit afraid to start this page because it looks so detailed, but when you get into it there's barely any background to do whatsoever, and the majority of it is just leaves. And I think what we'll do for ease and quickness is to identify each sort of pattern of leaf. For instance, these sort of lily pad looking leaves here, and then you've got these cone shaped leaves here, and for each type of leaf we'll assign a certain green or greens, just to make it easier. So looking here now, I see that this lily pad leaf thing is its stalk is here, so you would think to colour that in, but then I see this double line here which looks like the edge of another one of these cone shaped leaves, so that is actually a leaf. I'm not going to put any of this raspberry here because we're too close to the lantern, so let's just put a tiny bit in this little piece here and a little bit here, and we can always add more to darken it up. So remember to be leaving your little halo of light colour around it to blend the next colour. So I wasn't sure whether to do this as a nighttime scene, because in the book, in the actual story, it doesn't mention it being nighttime, but you've got these lanterns that are on, so I was a bit here and there about whether to do it as a daytime or a nighttime scene, but I figured that in this thick undergrowth that she's in, it's going to be pretty dark whether it's day or night, so that's probably why the lanterns are still on. Now that's gone up to a leaf, so we can leave that there, and then I think the next bit is just under this fan-shaped leaf at the side. Struggling for room a little bit. Yeah, so we'll just bring in some of this colour. And here as well, because that looks to me to be above ground. Okay, so let's have a look at the top just to make sure there's no gaps in the leaves at the top we can colour. So we could come in here so that the darkness sort of circles the image rather than coming in from the edges and getting lighter towards the middle. So we've got to make sure that the it doesn't come out too much in relation to the sides, if that makes sense. So we know that we can do everything that's right up at the top here, and just make sure that you keep it level across as much as you can do. So, questions. I got quite a few different questions to answer about all different things. First of all, somebody asked me how old I am. So I am 29, I'm going to be 30 in May, dreading it because I feel like I haven't done an awful lot with my 20s, but the biggest thing I've done is bring up my children. So obviously I have been busy. Yeah, so my kids, they're almost 12 and 9, and they fight like cat and dog. They do anything for each other deep down, but oh, gosh, the arguments every day. Holidays are a nightmare, school holidays, because they would argue over each other, breathing on each other, you know. It's just ridiculous when they're in the same space for too long. So yeah, lots and lots of arguing. Hoping that as the eldest one grows up a little bit, he might not bite back as much to the little one, because the little one is a wind-up merchant. So if he can annoy his brother, he will. So hopefully the age and a bit of maturity might stop some of the arguments, maybe. So I also got asked how long I've been colouring, and it's around about 3 years now, 3 years in March, April time. And I started the blog in April 3 years ago. So that's how long I've been doing this for and how long I've had the blog open for. It's really got to me lately, because I did the video about being banned from Facebook groups last week, and I finally became unbanned yesterday afternoon. And I did a couple of shares of my Polychromos pencil video that I did yesterday into the groups, and guess what? I am banned again until the 20th of January, so another week. And I've therefore made the decision that I'm not going to be sharing any of my videos in groups on Facebook, because I can't afford to keep getting banned, because I've got other groups that I'm a part of that have nothing to do with colouring, and I can't post in any of them either. So it's just really, really infuriating that this has happened, and I'm not sure whether this is a Facebook bot that is banning me for sharing, because I've been sharing my posts on sometimes a daily basis in the same amount of groups for 3 years now, and I've never been banned, and then twice in 2 weeks. I have had a little problem with a troll on my blog lately, so I'm wondering if I'm actually getting reported spitefully by somebody, and that's why. So I'm not going to be sharing them in groups anymore. Please feel free to share any of my videos in groups, but don't go mad, otherwise you're going to end up getting banned as well, and I don't want that. But it's really, really sad actually, because that is the biggest way that I get new followers and new people to find my stuff. So yeah, really sort of depressed about that, but hey ho, it's not the end of the world. So next we're going to go in with Mulberry, and again we're just going to feel our way into the picture and see how far we need to go with this next colour. So that I've just done is that green bit of the leaf. Or is it? Hang on. No, it's not. That's that bit. Phew. I'm getting confused. There's so many tiny little bits. I thought I'd coloured that bit. Right. So, colouring in with our Mulberry. Ever thinking about how close we are to this glow? Because we do need enough room to get that very lightest pink to that area. And then trying to keep it sort of circular. So as we go further down, can't see yet again, sorry, as we go further down the page, you'll be able to bring up your colours a little more to try and keep it circular around the lantern like this. So we can use a little bit more here, and a little bit more here. And as you can see, it's looking a bit circular, which is what we want. I'm going to keep checking I'm on camera. So I'm just thinking about how far I'm going towards this archway. Make sure we've got room for the other 3 colours that we have yet to do. Down at the bottom here. And bring this out pretty far. So we're using our lighter colour to mush that line between this one and the black raspberry to give it more of a blended look. Okay, so that's the bottom bit. Now, we started from the centre for some reason, so let's just make sure we've got this top bit done. So we can go in pretty much the whole way here because these leaves are blocking our gap to the lantern anyway. So the eye will just believe that the colours will graduate behind those leaves. So other questions I had were, where do I colour? And for videos I colour on my desk here, and that's in my living room or / dining room. It's next to my computer, so I can do all my blogging and things as well. And I've got an overhead light that brightens up the desk because British weather is not the best and the lighting is rubbish, so I do need that overhead light. I was also asked what I film with. I film with my iPhone. It's a 7 Plus, I think. It's quite big, and I balance it on the edge of the shelf that is above me. So that is how you get this viewpoint, bird's eye viewpoint. And I use a bottle of sealed mineral spirits to put on top of the phone to hold it down so it doesn't fall off the edge of the shelf. It's a very precarious setup. So I do have to be careful not to suddenly bash the desk by accident because it will come tumbling down. So again, at the point that your the mulberry meets the black raspberry, you can just smush the line away. That's what I love about Prismacolor pencils, you do a lot of smushing. And it really is, I think they're the easiest pencils to use. So we've got quite a thick leaf there. I'm not going to bring out that mulberry anymore, I don't think. Here I'll just do this tip in the mulberry and this bit here. So I'm already loving this colour combo. I love this sort of really dark, almost purple pink, and then coming out right into the very, very light pink. I think it's going to look awesome. So I've not been feeling too well today actually, because I'm on day 2 of, not a diet as such, but a bit of a strict healthy eating plan. So you won't know this, but I'm really super unhappy with my weight. I'm not, you know, obese or anything like that. I'm probably in the overweight category if we're talking BMI, which I don't really believe in anyway, because people of different heights and different weights and different body shapes and stuff can all be the same weight on the scales but look completely different. So I would really like to lose 3 stone, but I have absolutely zero willpower, and I mean zero. So it's super hard for me. I also have other medical issues, for instance, irritable bowel syndrome, which, funnily enough, seems to get lots worse whenever I eat things like salads and all the stuff that's good for you. So I have that to contend with as well, and that often in the past has been the thing that makes me give up because of the, you know, the symptoms of that. So, but I'm trying again. I did do Slimming World for 1 week because I'm very much a instant gratification type of person. I want to lose weight tomorrow and I want to see results now, otherwise I get bored. I think it's probably the Gemini in me. So I did Slimming World for a week and I lost 1 pound, and I was so disappointed because I'd stuck to it like an army regiment, you know, and I'd also done 30 minutes on a treadmill every single day, like fast walking, power walking, and I lost 1 pound. And I know that you all are going to say that was just the start and it could have been water retention or muscle building, etc, etc. But I was like, no, I'm not having that. I've put myself through hell in the past week with no chocolate, or, well, very, very little chocolate. And I just gave up on that. That was around about this time last year. And I will swing from between thinking, I really need to lose weight and change how I look because I'm not happy when I look in the mirror. And I go between that and thinking, F it, you know, you're not bad, you're not as bad as, you know, horrendously, you know, heavy people. But I have this thing about body positivity as well. So I would never, ever call someone awful or whatever for looking big or being big, but in my mind I don't want myself to get to that stage. So I really do contradict myself, and I don't mean to sound you know, like I'm getting on at anyone or, you know, being nasty or whatever, because I'm so not that person, and I'm so nice to everyone else, and I really would tell anyone, don't worry about how you look. It's not the most important thing about you. You could be a liar, you could be a cheat, you could be a deceiver, and that would all be the worst thing about you, not what you look like, for God's sake. But when it comes to me, I'm my biggest critic, as we often are. And anyway, I just want to try and lose some weight. So what I've been doing is I've been taking bits and bobs of ideas from the Slimming World plan and bits and bobs from other sort of diets and things and incorporating them together. So yesterday I had a salad for lunch. I think it was lettuce and spinach and what else was in it? Beetroot and green beans. And I had that with some chicken breast that I cooked. And I liked that. That was nice. It wasn't truly satisfying, but it was nice. I don't like tomatoes or cucumbers or anything like that, so I find it difficult to think up interesting salads. They all seem to be tomatoes, cucumbers, and always with the veggie type things, it's always mushrooms, and I hate mushrooms. So I find that hard. Don't like avocados. So I'm pretty difficult to please, really. I'm quite fussy about food. Give me a pizza, pasta, chocolate every day of the week. But obviously you can't carry on like that, otherwise you get into the weight range that I'm in. But you know, I'm 5'10", so I'm pretty tall, and I'm told that I carry it well. And I really don't want to be this person that is, you know, obsessed with their weight, but unfortunately that's just how I'm programmed. You know, I'm very unkind to myself sometimes, and I do actually have a tattoo that says "Be kind to yourself." So I actually got it inked on my body because I knew how not very nice I can be to myself. So I'm trying. Last night for dinner, again I had chicken. I had a stir fry, so more green beans, bean sprouts, what else? think I had some carrots in there. Yeah, it wasn't too great. I had some vermicelli noodles and they all went to mush, so I think I cooked them for too long. But I'll try again next time and see what happens. Today I had, oh, this is like a food diary, this must be so boring, but I've just been told to waffle on, so that's what I'm going to do. So today I had scrambled eggs on 1 piece of brown toast for breakfast with a banana and a pint of lemon water. And then for lunch I had a jacket potato with tuna, and on the side loads of carrots, broccoli, and there was one more thing I had, carrots, broccoli and baby corns, and that was my lunch. And then I had an Alpin bar for a little bit of a treat. Right, just quickly go on to the next colour. So that's processed red, and just follow the rule that we've already set about keeping it circular around the lantern. And yeah, then I felt really horrible all day, and it's probably my body trying to get used to not having loads of wheat and pasta and pizza and crisps and chocolate. My God, chocolate. That is my biggest downfall. So it's probably just trying to get used to it, really. Let's go up here. But if you have any tips for someone with absolutely zero willpower, then please, please let me know. I'm always interested in knowing if there's any ways I can make this easier for myself. I pretty much know that I'm probably going to give up by the end of this week, because that's what always happens. But I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself to definitely keep it up. I'm trying to be a little bit laid back about it, to try and trick myself into staying on plan. But anyway, what other questions did you have? Let's have a look. I've got a little card here with the questions written out. So somebody asked, how many pencils have I replaced with open stock? And the truth is, not many. I'm quite conservative with my pencils, and I did use markers for an awfully long time before I actually realised that I like pencils better. So my pencils are in a pretty good state actually, and the one that I need to replace is my non-photo blue from the Prismacolor set, because that has gone down to nothing. So I need to find one of those. And from the Polychromos, I think my shortest one is like that, and it's leaf green. And I already got a couple of open stock spares anyway the other day with that awesome deal from Paper Story that I posted about. So honestly, I haven't really had to replace any with open stock yet. So that's good. So going up here, I was also asked about the favourite colours that I own, and one of my absolute favourite colours is parrot green. I just love it. It's like an aqua, deep aqua, with a bit more green in it than blue. So that's probably one of my favourite colours that I own. Now we're going to bring this processed red into the bottom of these leaves here, because we're always thinking about how much room we've got left until we get to that stone, and we have 2 more colours to put in, so we've got a little bit of room to extend this out more here. But always keep it sort of in sync with the bits that you've already done and the bits that you're going to do, how far it comes down. So for example, we've got quite a bit of this kind of pink here, so I will probably bring in some more black raspberry just to deepen it a little bit. But you can go back after and touch it up when you've got the sort of the spaces right, then you can go in after. So we're just going to do the same at the top, all the way across. And as I say, you can go in with the last colour and make that darker up here, if you've got room to do that. It just gives it a little bit more depth and dimension. So last time I was talking about horror films being my favourite kind of film, and I got a few questions from someone asking me to just ramble on a bit more about that. So the questions I was asked was, what is scariest in a story to me? I've always been quite scared by psychiatric sanatorium type horror films like House on Haunted Hill, Session 9, things where it involves people who've gone criminally mad, because I think that there's no reasoning with someone that's you know, literally can't help it because it's how their brain is wired. And I think that's the scariest of all, when there's no reasoning with someone. I do quite like the jump scary films, like your Insidious and The Conjuring, films like that. But I also have a very soft spot for classic horrors as well. So obviously The Exorcist is incredibly scary, still scares me. And that's quite a mean feat because I don't get scared easily. And Hammer horrors as well. So I mentioned in the last video that I was just done watching The Wicker Man again for the millionth time, and any of these sort of Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, what's the other one's name? The Vincent guy. I've forgot. It'll come to me. Things like that I love. I saw a film recently on YouTube actually that really freaked me out. It's called the Poughkeepsie Tapes. So a place in America called Poughkeepsie, which is actually twinned with a town not so far from me in Derbyshire. And this Poughkeepsie Tapes, it was horrible. It was set as if it was a documentary about murders that had been committed by this person. But it was a very good docudrama style. So you did actually believe that you could believe that it was a documentary and not a filmed documentary, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was really freaky. It was about this guy who was a burgeoning killer, and he kidnapped this woman, and she was kidnapped by him for years, and her family had no idea what happened to her, and he just tortured her in the most awful ways, and it was just, ugh, it was horrible. So yeah, that wasn't nice, and it was really sort of grainy. He filmed everything, and it was really grainy and sort of like snuff filmy, if that makes sense, and it just wasn't. It was really uncomfortable to watch. So I won't be watching that again in a hurry. Now again, we're going to be careful about our lanterns here. Don't go too close with these darker pinks. Leave some room. So I also got asked what I think of creepypastas, and creepypastas are a type of story online that's usually they try and tell you that it really happened, but in all likelihood it's just a story, and they usually have some awful grisly or paranormal end to them, and they're usually quite long. I remember I read one, I want to call it something to do with Ted, but that could just be me thinking aloud from nowhere, but I think it was called something to do with Ted, and it was about an an underground like cave digger or something. It was ages since I've read this, and so this cave, they were digging into this cave because they found like a hole, and it was the tiniest hole, and it was going to take them so long to dig through, but they were really intrigued by it for some reason, and they spent months chipping away at this tiny hole and only getting sort of a few millimetres off. And it took ages and ages and ages, and the story was really sort of written very claustrophobically. It really felt like you were there within the story in this tiny hole, and then eventually it's enough, it's big enough for him to crawl into, but it's still very, very small, so it's scratching him, the sides are scratching him because he's having to really push his body through. It's very, very claustrophobic, and you know, there's some sort of freaky stuff on the other side. I can't remember really what it was, but that's just one that sticks out to me. So I like being made to feel scared by films, you know. I think, oh wow, that really like took my breath away, I was scared, but I don't like to feel too uncomfortable, you know, those kind of films that are just too realistic. So yeah. So I'm thinking that we can move on to our next colour now. Did I put some of this process red over here? I think so, but I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a feathery edge. Yeah. Okay, so next colour we've got is hot pink, and we're really going into some light pink now. Just before I do that, I've missed a little bit here with the process red. Let's bring it down a little bit over here. It's quite awkward too. Hang on, am I on screen? No, again. So sorry about this, guys. So again, I'm just bringing the colour right down, trying to keep it a sort of circular frame around everything, trying to keep the arched look. And then we will go in with our hot pink, and I'll start at the top. We can bring this down really quite far because we've got quite a big gap there. So I might even extend some of the darker ones outwards. And then here. As you can see, I've left some white between the end of this hot pink and the beginning of the cream on the lantern, and that will be filled with our blush pink. So we're just doing exactly the same. If you've missed any bits, you can just go in, like I've missed a bit here. Here I can just be a little bit more carefree about how much I'm putting down, because there's quite a big gap then between the pink and the light from the lantern. So in these areas that are away from the lantern, we probably will be bringing out our darker pinks a little bit further into the centre. So here especially I'm thinking that we should put some more black raspberry because it just doesn't look right here, I don't think, around this fan-shaped plant. So let's just add a bit more darkness in there. One good thing is you can always use your lightest colour to just blend any of your other colours. If you can't be bothered to go and find them or reach for them. So, pretty happy with that. I can always touch up any bits at the end. I've also got an eye twitch, which is really annoying me. It's coming and going. I think it's lack of sleep. So, just getting the mulberry now and just messing around with it. Okay, so with our hot pink, we'll just follow the pattern that we've been doing all the way along. So we've done around the lantern, and we can bring it down here a little bit more, even underneath the wall fixing for the lantern. And then here between these pointy leaves, we can bring it right down. So we have been quite careful with how much of the darker colours that we've put on, and we've kept that quite short. So there is bound to be a lot more of this pink colour because we've not really been able to gauge how much we can use in how much area that we've got. So as I say, you can just add more of the dark, bring it in a little bit more at the end. I'm just worried about making sure that these lanterns are left with the glow that we need. So extending out from the process red right the way down here. Just keep in mind how close you are to the stone at all times. Make sure you've got enough room for the last colour. Trying to keep that space all the way across the same width. Here again, we're just going to be really careful with how close we are to the Lanten. So just adding in a little bit more Brie and processed red here, so that we're not going too high with the pink, with the hot pink. So I think the rest of that will be the blush. I'm going to leave that bit alone now. Go to underneath and by the side of the Lanten. So again, just giving it a slight bit of an edge to catch that blush pink and not have it, you know, too close to the processed red. And down here you can extend it a bit more. So you can extend it as far out towards the stone now as you like. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it for the hot pink. Now we can get on to our very last colour, finally, the blush pink. And we might as well start from the bottom here again and work our way around. So basically with the blush pink, we are filling in everything that we have left over. All the way up to the stonework. And we're making sure that the line between the hot pink and the blush pink is blurred, so it does look like a natural gradation. So you're actually going over and into the hot pink that you've put down. As you can see, I colour with quite hard pressure when I know I don't need to blend anything. Probably not good for your pencils, and I know a lot of people like to use multiple layers to build up colour, or even blending spirits, a blending pencil, things like that. But I prefer to do it with the actual pencils themselves because it preserves the boldness of the colour and the vividity. So as we're going up to the Lanten, going all the way up to it with the blush pink. And it's going to meet that cream that we put down, and they will just merge with each other. You just do it very lightly up to the cream, don't go mad. And we can also use the cream to blur that line further when we've done. So here I'm just a bit worried that it's too much of a gap, so we're going to get that hot pink out again and try and just extend a little bit more outwards here, like we have over on the other side. But not too much as we're getting up closer to that lantern light. So just, you know, play with it. And how are we doing for time? Because I feel like I've been on here forever. Oh my goodness, it's gone over an hour. I'm not going to worry too much though, because you guys, all of you guys, not one of you said that you wanted me to make them any shorter. You actually said that you prefer them to be up to an hour and a half long. So I'm not too worried about that now. And we are almost at the end of this, so. So just going really carefully around the glow of the lantern. Always mushing it into that hot pink, trying to blend those colours together. Now obviously this bit's a little bit tricky because you've got to go around all of these little ivy leaves that we did in the first video. And keep your pencil sharp, should be fine. As I say, what matters is the overall look of the finished piece to the eye. So as long as it looks effective, sort of at a distance, if that makes sense, you don't have to worry about any bits and bobs that you've gone over the lines or whatever. So another question was, what TV shows do I like watching? One of my absolute favourite all-time TV shows is Father Ted, and it's an Irish comedy about a Catholic priest, or a couple of Catholic priests, living in a parochial house on a small island in Ireland called Craggy Island. And it's really satirical, and it's just hilarious if you've ever been brought up in the Catholic faith, in the Irish Catholic faith. And it really is genius writing. I had very, very strict Irish Catholic grandparents, and it is funny, you know, the different things that you find when you're watching it, how you can correlate that to your own experiences growing up. Other series that I've watched and love include Black Mirror. That's really good on Netflix. And Breaking Bad, another good one. Everyone loves Breaking Bad, don't they? Quite a few. I've seen quite a few. The most recent one, as I say, that I'm watching is Penny Dreadful. Before that I watched the first series of Westworld with Anthony Hopkins, one of my favourite actors. do like things with sort of a horror twist. I like American Horror Story, Bates Motel. Recently watched an amazing series on Netflix called Mindhunter. People getting into the mindset of serial killers that actually did exist, but obviously they are portrayed by actors in this program. But yeah, that was brilliantly done. I like anything to do with both sides of the spectrum, so both police. I love sort of police dramas and you know, finding out about the criminal system and the law. And I also, on the flip side of that, like to watch things like true crime, because I'm really interested in the sort of psychology of the people that do these terrible things. What makes them that way, you know, what drove them to the point that they've committed the crimes that they've committed. And obviously I have that love for horror as well, so it all ties in. But I think my ideal job would be to be a desk sergeant on in a police station, because that's where everyone comes in to be processed when they've just been arrested. And I'm one of these people that looks out of the window behind the curtain when there's a fight going on in the street. I like to be distanced from it, but I do like to sort of be like, oh wow, look what's going on, there's fighting going on. You know, so being behind a glass panel as a desk sergeant in a police station and seeing things cracking off would be my ideal job, because I'm quite nosy as well. So we are coming to the end of our background, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching this one and colouring along with me. Now all that's really left to do is to do our touch-ups and get that cream back into play, and just the line that's between the cream and the blush pink, just go over it with the cream to blur it even further. Now, I'm not going to do this on camera, but obviously you can go back in and extend those darker edges in a little bit more, as we talked about, and sort of try and balance out the levels of the different colours and how far they come out and everything like that, which I'll also be doing. But honestly, it's not going to take much. It'll just be adding a bit more of the darker shades further down into the page. But for now, I think that is our background pretty much complete. So as I say, going to be bringing in more of the dark pinks to the centre, because I do feel that especially here we do have a little bit too much of the hot pink and the blush pink as opposed to the darker colours. So that's what I'm going to be doing. If you want to do the same, you can do, depending on how yours has turned out and how well you've done on gauging those different colours. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video as well. It's the longest one yet. Talked about a few different things, and yeah, so let me know how you liked it, and of course show me your pieces as well on Facebook. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.